Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and the Ukraine. We're also going to delve into the confines of another conflict that continues. One of probably the most bloodiest conflicts that this world has seen in quite a number of years. Now, most would believe that was taking place in and around Ukraine. Well, it's not the case. Now, the fighting is not intense as it once was, but nonetheless, it is an incredibly bloody conflict. So, I'll get back to that here in a second. But going back to the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, so it looks like that Russia has now been able to destroy over half of the Ukraine's power generation capability. At the same time, we are continuing to hear reports that the French are very much, in all probability, looking to deploy its forces in western Ukraine. Now, we know that France, and we know that French soldiers have participated in the conflict. Now, that's unofficial. That's unofficial. Now it will become official. At a certain point, we expect that the French state will make an announcement that indeed French soldiers are operating in western Ukraine. So here is a headline. This is out of Euromaidan. Russian threatens to target French military instructors in Ukraine if they are sent. As France is preparing to announce the deployment of military instructors to Ukraine, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned that any French military personnel sent to Ukraine, whether official or mercenary, would be considered absolutely legitimate targets for Russian forces. Russia warned that any French military instructors sent to Ukraine would be considered legitimate targets for Russian forces following reports that France is considering deploying personnel to assist Ukrainian troops. France is expected to announce the deployment of military trainers to Ukraine focusing on technical expertise and demining. This move aims to bolster Ukraine's defensive capabilities amid ongoing war with Russia. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky will discuss the details during his visit to France on the 6th of June. So there you have it. Now, do the Ukrainians really need demining support? Most Ukrainian battlefield engineers were trained, at least the senior officers, were trained in Soviet doctrine. They were trained with, for the most part, Soviet-era mines. The Ukrainians have more experience in working with the types of mines that are deployed in this war than the French do. Yes, the French have schools and they have obviously sappers and battlefield engineers that are trained to NATO standards. But realistically, are they that much better than the Ukrainian battlefield engineers? Probably not. So that is a cover that the French are using for, in all probability, to insert forces into the conflict. Now, if Russia attacks these French forces, then nonetheless the French will say, well, they were attacking training troops that were located in western Ukraine. I don't know. That's a tough one. You tell me what you think. Is this a training operation that the French will be conducting in western Ukraine? Or is this a plan to create conditions where we see a Russian attack where the Western allies, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the United States, can somehow say that the Russians have attacked a NATO partner? Look, again, the Ukraine is not part of NATO. It is not. There is no NATO mandate that allows NATO forces to protect and assist Ukrainian forces. But that was the case when NATO attacked Serbia. That was the case when NATO attacked Belgrade. That was the case when NATO attacked Tripoli and overthrew Gaddafi. Seriously. North Africa, NATO intervenes. Southeastern Europe, absolutely nothing to do with NATO, NATO intervenes. And here we go. But we'll see what happens. The war of attrition continues. The Russian bombing campaign continues. And it will continue. The Russians are not going to lose this war. I say that again. The Russians are not going to lose this war. The only possible outcome, the only possible current outcome we have right now is the expansion of the conflict. That is the only course we are currently on. There is no other course. With the Ukrainian side right now, with them declaring, with Zelensky declaring that conditions to end the war include a complete Russian withdrawal from Crimea, including Sevastopol, the total Russian withdrawal of forces from Kherson, Luhansk, Donetsk, and then on top of that, Russia will be forced to pay reparations. Not even close. Not even close to a resolution of conflict. And as I've talked about before, this is a walking up or down the steps type of escalation. And in all probability, as I've talked about before, the war will expand. And eventually, in all probability, it will affect people here in the United States at some point. And that's where we're at. Now, the other conflict that has killed hundreds of thousands of people was and is the civil war taking place inside the former state of Ethiopia. There is now new evidence that would lead one to believe that the current dictator of Ethiopia, of the city-state of Addis Ababa, Abiy Ahmed, has launched a campaign of genocide against the people of Tigray. Now, along with this new evidence that is publicly available, there are a number of concentration camps that have been observed inside of the former state of Ethiopia. These concentration camps, and there's probably about a half a dozen, if not more, that now exist. They are in various regions of the former state of Ethiopia, including the Afar region, the Oromo region. There's even a concentration facility located in Addis Ababa. Concentration camps. Now, Abiy Ahmed has reportedly said during a State Department party that in which obviously libations were served, that at one point he boasted that he would become the longest living leader of any African state in recorded history. Now, Abiy Ahmed is not an old person. He's got probably a couple of decades left to go. And again, he is talking about staying in power for decades to come. What was once a very prosperous nation, a nation that was heading towards, pardon the pun, prosperity, that is no longer occurring. Now we have concentration camps, we have death camps, we have the attempted extermination of an entire ethnic group located in the northernmost part of the former state of Ethiopia. Now look, this is a multi-pronged war. This is civil wars within civil wars. This is the war in Tigray. There is now a civil war taking place in the Amhara region. There is a civil war taking place inside of Oromia. There is fighting taking place in Afar. And it continues. I will make another video that will take you to these concentration camps that have been set up in the former state of Ethiopia. Again, the ability for world media, world journalism, to get into the former state of Ethiopia, specifically the Tigray region, has been very difficult. The Abiy Ahmed regime has prevented media from entering many of these war areas to report about what is happening. But if you were to gain visual evidence of what is happening, you, the viewer, would be absolutely appalled. The things that are happening and have happened in Tigray have and will make other conflicts around the world look like very, very small potatoes indeed. I have seen some horrific evidence of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and death camps. Actual, real death camps being instituted in the former state of Ethiopia. So we'll continue to cover this. More to come very, very soon. I want to go to those and take you to those concentration camps. I have taken you there on a previous video to at least one, and there are about 6 we are currently tracking as we speak. So again, more to come, obviously, with the coverage of the ongoing war between the Russian Federation and the Ukraine as well. Thank you for joining us today. As always, have a good day.